Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. And I'm in Spain, as most of you know. I am based in Spain, in Europe. And I just want to say, you may be able to gather by the gloves. It's really chilly here this morning. It is so cold. I mean, it's not really that cold. It's 17 degrees. But it's funny, really. The longer you live in a hot country, the more you feel the cold. You know, and I've lived here nearly 30 years now. And they say your blood thins. I don't know if that's true or not, but I know that you certainly feel the cold more. The longer you live in a cold country, a warm country, and probably the opposite is true. If you live in a cold country, you build up your resistance to cold. And sorry, just going to give a little bit of waffle now. As you know, some people like the waffle. If you don't like the waffle, you're always better to just wait 10 minutes into a live, really, because I normally start off with a bit of waffle, don't I? Let's have the waffle emoji. But yeah, I was very struck yesterday when I went to the supermarket. Just popped to the local supermarket first thing in the morning, and it was chilly, really chilly, and I'd been not sensible, and was wearing shorts and sandals, and that was a big mistake. I was frozen like an ice lolly. I mean, I was so cold. Anyway, when I was looking around, I was struck by how you can tell people's nationality, more or less, by what they wear here in Spain, you know, when it's cold, because the sun was out. You know, and as the day goes on, it gets warmer, especially if you can get out of the wind and into the sun. But you've got you can tell a tourist immediately. So I saw two tourists. You know they're tourists because the girl had just like a strappy dress on, like a sundress. And the guy had like shorts and sandals on, and they were sort of almost hugging each other for warmth. They were that cold, you could see. They're like, I'm on holiday, I'm wearing my summer clothes, I'm wearing my holiday clothes, no matter what. Yeah, it might be freezing, but I'm wearing my holiday clothes. So instantly you can spot a tourist. Then the next person you can spot is a person that lives in Spain. So they're not a tourist, but they're not Spanish, because they've normally got a little bit more, that would be me. So they've got normally sandals on and shorts, but they might have a jumper on, something a bit warmer, like, or at least a cardigan or a fleece, you know. So they're sort of like, they're the halfy people. So they've got half summer clothes on the bottom, you know, like the shorts and the sandals maybe, and then they've got a fleece on their top half or whatever, because they know it's going to be chilly in the morning, and then later they'll take off their jumper, their cardigan, or their fleece. So that's the second sort of person you see. I saw all these in one trip to the supermarket. Then you've got the Spanish person who lives here and has always lived here. They've got their boots on, their jeans, a puffer jacket. You know, they're dressed much more sensibly and warmly. And then there's one more kind of person that I thought about yesterday. And these are people that come from even hotter countries than Spain, like South America, you know, Ecuador or Venezuela, or anywhere in South America. And they are wearing like full on Christmas. You know, I saw a girl, she had the gloves, she had a bobby hat on, woolen hat, big scarf, a great big fleece type thing, jeans, boots, the lot. So they're the people that are foreigners, but they come from warmer countries, and they complain about how cold it is in Spain. So it's quite funny, isn't it, really? It's quite interesting. Anyway, I'm the in-betweenie. I do tend to dress warmly now because I've lived here for so long. I certainly don't do the tourist thing, and I don't even do the halfy. normally. It's just that yesterday I looked out, saw it was sunny, didn't realise how cold it was. But today I've got my jeans on. I have got sandals on, but that's because I'm in the house. But I could have my boots on. But I've got my gloves on, and I was looking for my little woolly hat, but I couldn't find it. So it's cold in the house. We've got, you have to remember we have no heating. And the door is open, well, up on the roof, so that my dogs can get in and out if they need to go to the loo. So the door, there's always a door open in my house. So, yeah. And now, talking of dogs, so there you go. I've just got to go and clear up after one of my dogs. I'll have to put on before I can come in. Now, we are going to talk about the Epstein files. I will get around to it. Sorry. So what am I going to do? I'll put a video on just for, let's see, it'll only take me a couple of minutes. I'm so sorry. I thought I had a new book video there, but. Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. Did you ever want to know a little bit more about me and my background, how I came to become interested in true crime, how I ended up in Spain being a Spanish teacher? If you want to know a little bit about me, a little bit more about me as a person, you can find my book, Confessions of a Spanish Teacher, on any Amazon site, wherever you live in the world. And I believe that everyone has a story to tell, and this is my story. So it's the story of how I grew up in Manchester in the UK on a council estate, and very humble beginnings, and my journey through personal tragedies, disastrous romances, and triumphs to become a single mum, a Spanish teacher, and an interpreter living in Spain, and eventually a YouTuber reporting on true crime. So it details my various experiences with people and places over 20 years of teaching, over 20 years now. Ooh, where did that go? Of teaching Spanish and interpreting through the backdrop of the recession, financial uncertainty, severe flooding, and living through COVID. I hope you will find it funny, sad, amazing, silly, serious, and stranger than fiction at times. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope to make you angry at least once. I hope to make you cry at least twice, and I hope to make you laugh many, many times. So thank you for all your support on my YouTube channel, and if you want to know a little bit more about me as a person, then you can find out there. So thank you so much. See you very soon in the next video, and as always, till then, may your God go with you. Bye. I'm back. Sorry about that. The video finished before I'd finished sorting the dog out. Oh, no, I may have to go in a minute if the other dog decides to do anything. Anyway, sorry about that. I'm back. Let's try again. So what else have I got to say before we get going? Oh, yeah. So I want to say a big thank you, a very big thank you, a massive thank you to the subscriber over there in Ireland who sent me details of how to sort out my StreamYard, you know, because it was showing the two, like the horizontal and vertical. I pressed the button inadvertently because StreamYard told me it was recommended. Oh my God, and it caused a nightmare, didn't it, with trolls and, oh, it's just been so confusing. Anyway, a very kind subscriber of mine from all the way over there in Ireland sent me the details of how to resolve it. So I have resolved it. So we shouldn't have all those weirdo trolls on today. And shouldn't, you know, and it's just horizontal. So, and so thank you for that. Thank you so much for that. Then I want to say a big thank you. Sorry, I need a coffee. Thank you, of course, to all my subscribers for watching, for liking, for sharing. Very special thank you to my members. Of course, it's Members Live every Thursday. So I'll see you tonight in the Members Live. What else? I want to say thank you to people who have PayPal'd me, who have bought me Ko-fis, who have supported my channel in any positive way. Thank you so much. Okay, so yeah, what we're going to talk about today in these Epstein files. I'm going to come on and say hello to anyone who's in the chat in a moment. So, you know, what is this drip feed of everything? Just release everything. You know, we're getting drip fed, and this has gone on for how many years? How many years has this all gone on for? At least 10. If not more. Was it 2011 when it all started happening? I don't know, I've lost count. But, you know, at the end of the day, this man, he's been dead quite a long time now, but he's still speaking from beyond the grave. He is haunting. He's haunted Andrew, the Andrew formerly known as Prince. You know, the prince who doesn't sweat, or didn't, the former prince who didn't sweat, but of course he did, over this girl, Virginia, and this photo. Is this the most famous photo in the world? So apparently one of the files that have just come out, Jeffrey Epstein says that this photo was genuine, but any, you know, normal thinking person knows that this photo is genuine, you know, and there'll be other photos. What I want to know is, where are all the other photos of other people? You know, this guy, he says in these emails that he took the photo along with, he took photos of most of his clients, with most of his companions, with his employees. There'll be loads of photos. Where are all the photos? Why is Ghislaine Maxwell the only person that's in prison? Why isn't Andrew in prison? What about other men that have been mentioned? Why are they not in prison? Where are the investigations? Where's the culpability? You know, Epstein went to prison, but then he mysteriously died, hung himself, apparently, didn't he? This poor girl, well, she was a girl then, she was only 41, when she apparently hung herself as well. You know, where's the... This is just the weirdest thing, isn't it? You know, and the only person really who has been held to account in some way is Andrew. But he's not really been held to account. So he's been forced to move from one mansion to another mansion. You still have servants, you still have security detail, you still have all the things that he had before. He just can't, you know, act as a prince anymore. Are we supposed to think that's a proper punishment? You know, what punishment would your dad get, or your brother, or your son, your uncle? You know, or you, if you're a man, what punishment would you get? And this is the punishment that he's got. He's got to move from one mansion to another. You know, are we supposed to feel sorry for him? Really? And then nobody else has been held to account. Nobody, only Ghislaine. You know, she's just, what about the men? What about the men? Anyway, that's my question. Let's see who's actually in the chat. Oh, hi, Blue. It's just me and you at the moment, I think, though. There are more people watching. They just don't want to go into the chat, which is fine. Oh, they're my lovely lurkers. Hello, lovely lurkers. Hello, replay crew. Thank you for watching. I have got some plug-in heaters, but I've got a radiator on at the moment in the kitchen, but I just use it to, the kitchen's lovely and warm. I use it to dry clothes. But yeah, no, I don't like, because then of course your electricity bill gets ridiculous as well. So I tend to just put on more clothes rather than plug in things that cost money and electric. But I do, obviously, if it gets really, really cold. It's not really that cold. It's just because, you know, I'm not used to it. We've just come through like 40-degree summer. So the coffee's warming me up a little bit. Yeah. Oh, Blue, see, we're missing the trolls. You know, when I did it, when we were doing it the horizontal and vertical way, all those trolls made the chat was buzzing. It was like, oh, God, you know. So now it's gone back to normal, just normal chat. I mean, people do chat, but, you know, not normally as much as when all the trolls were in there, did they? So, yeah, let's have a look again at some of these photos. Oh, so the other person, of course, who's implicated now, Trumpy, he doesn't look well, does he, Donald Trump? I mean, he's elderly. At the end of the day, he's nearly 80. I know he was glad when Joe Biden took a step back, but now he's the old one, isn't he? He's the old one. Whereas before, he was the young one compared to Joe Biden, wasn't he? Now, Trumpy is the old one. He looks ill. Maybe he just hasn't got his fake tan on, enough fake tan on there. I don't know. But yeah, you know, this is haunting him as well, isn't it? This whole thing, this guy, I really am going to have to Photoshop this photo and make him look like the ghost of Christmas past, because I've been calling him that for ages, and that is what he is. He's not going away, is he? He might be dead, but he's haunting Andrew, Trumpy, and this man as well, which I don't know if you're outside of the UK. Even if you're in the UK, you may not know who this man is. But this is Peter Mandelson. And this, to me, as well, I was just absolutely gobsmacked when he was made the envoy to America, brought back into the government after, because years ago when he was in the government before, this is what I'm old enough to remember, Peter Mandelson, when he was in the government before, in the Labour government, he was an advisor to Tony Blair, I think, and he was known as the Prince of Darkness or Mandy, whichever way you looked at it, because he is, of course, gay. He's openly gay now. He's married. I think back in the day, he probably couldn't be openly gay. It was a different time. And obviously, it makes absolutely no difference to me. I could not care less whether he's gay, straight, or curved. But he wasn't, he had a reputation of being very sinister, you know, like a very sinister character, Machiavellian character. And he resigned from the government in disgrace. I can't even remember what it was about now, but there was always scandal surrounding Mandelson. He was then made a Lord. This is why, you know, abolish the House of Lords already. It's ridiculous. It's just a place where you give rewards to people who've done bad things. You know, it's horrible, the House of Lords. You know, why was he made a Lord? For being a really sinister and creepy politician that made him a lord. It was probably to shut him up. I think they make people lords and ladies and baronesses or whatever things just to shut people up sometimes, isn't it? Oh, yeah, here's a title. So that was Lord Mandelson. He wasn't a lord then. That was Mandelson then. Now he's a lord. and he was sent off to be some envoy to America, because he knows Trump, you see, as well. And he did well because he got the help with the trade deals and this, that, and the other. But he's a good friend of Donald Trump. They go back years to the Epstein years, you know. And now Mandelson is trying to sort of distance himself from Epstein, but he can't, because there's emails of him how he was, you know, Epstein was this great, wonderful friend of his and what have you. And so they all know each other. Mandelson, Trump, Epstein. You know, they were those creepy old guys. Now they're creepy old guys. I mean, the thing is, they weren't creepy old guys then. They were creepy young guys. Now they're creepy old guys, aren't they? So they all knew each other. So why is he still a lord? Why has that not been taken away from him? So Prince Andrew, as was Andrew, formerly known as Prince, he's had his title taken away. But Mandy, he's still got Mandy, the Prince of Darkness, as he was always known. He's still got his title. Why? These are my questions. You know, these are big questions for me. Why has nobody but Ghislaine, nobody else, because of course Epstein was convicted, where are all the other people? You know, where are all the other, the famous Prime Minister that Virginia Giuffre mentioned in a book, who was a sadist, apparently a sexual sadist who laughed at her pain, choked her. Why is he not in prison? Others, there'll be loads. Of course there'll be loads. They're not, you know, all the concentration is on Andrew, really. Most of the concentration is on Andrew, who, you know, I know he's, I'm not sticking up for Andrew, believe me, but I do think he's been held up as a scapegoat. What about everybody else? Oh, and now all they've talked about in the papers the last couple of days, whether he should, so he's going to be called, what is it, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, Andrew Louis Mountbatten Windsor, whether he should have a hyphen or not. No one cares if he's got a hyphen in his name or not. There's no hyphen in nonce, is there? No hyphen in that word. You know, what is wrong with the British press that they'll, you know, make a big deal over whether Andrew, formerly known as Prince, should have a hyphen in his name or not? Nobody cares. What people care about is, why is he being moved from one mansion to another, and people are trying to say it's some sort of downgrade, but he still have servants, he still have everything, you know, that he wants. Well, that's what people want to know about. They don't want to know about whether he's got a hyphen in his name or not. Couldn't care less whether he's got a hyphen in his name or not. This is the ridiculousness of the British royal family, in my opinion. And the other thing we can never forget, and I'm going to show it every time I come on air, you know, the royal family, the British royal family, has got a history of getting on very well with famous PDFs. You know, the ones that we know definitely were, like Savile. You know, this is just one photo of him with Charlie Boy. The Queen's favourite artist, Rolf Harris. You know, Epstein, he spent time at Balmoral, at the Queen's residence. Now, although it will have been Andrew, I expect, that invited him there. You're telling me the Queen didn't give permission? You know, and then there's Louis Mountbatten, the actor. I'm surprised Andrew's taking Mountbatten into his name at all, because he is a notorious paedophile. I need to do a video about him sometime. You know, he abused young boys in Ireland for many years. So, you know, this is the royal family are notorious. You know, anyone, they don't care about the victims. They keep saying they care about the victims. They couldn't give a shit about the victims. Only they don't want to, they're just trying to save their skins at the moment, the royals, in my opinion. just trying to save their skins. So, yeah. Now, so Trumpy, of course, he's getting, as I say, doesn't look very well, I don't think, just lately. And I'm not surprised he's got all this about the Epstein files coming out. Then they had this shutdown of the government, didn't they? I don't understand America. How can you shut down the government? But anyway, it's back on again, or it's coming back. And Trump has always promised to release all the Epstein files, but it just hasn't happened, has it? So they're trickling out, and of course his camp, and they may be right, I don't know, are saying that it's all a plot by the Democrats to besmirch Donald Trump. But you know what? I don't think the Democrats have to try and do that. I think Donald Trump does quite well doing that himself. I mean, he is a convicted sex offender. You know, he's the president of the United States. How did he even get there? But anyway, this is what we're going to look at in this video. What the latest thing is. You know, I think maybe Charlie Boy, the royal family, they got wind of these new things coming out, and that's why they, after saying they could not take Andrew's title away, suddenly they just took it away, didn't they? Just like that. It was done within a day or something. But it just shows you, so this royal family that aren't supposed to have any power, they've got loads of power, haven't they? They've got loads of power. If you think you live in a democracy, if you live in Britain, you're wrong. You live in an elite. It's like an oligarchy. It's a society run by the elite. And even like the ethnic minorities and everything that do get into positions of power, they're part of the elite. They've all been to public school or whatever. They're not, you know, anytime you do get someone who genuinely is from a different class, you know, that's worked their way up, scratched their way up from nothing, they soon get rid of them, don't they? Like Angela Rayner, you know, they'll dig up something on them. All the dirt that they could dig up on all these elite politicians, and they found that she didn't pay tax on some house or whatever, you know, like, for God's sake, there's like concerted campaigns, because the elite don't want a Labour government in power. They certainly don't want a working class Labour government in power, because they don't want to get taxed more. The rich don't want to get taxed more. Rich people are greedy. They want all their money, and they want more and more, like the royal family. You know, I was watching something this morning on the BBC on the news, and they were talking about, you know, metal detectors, people that go out searching for a treasure, you know, and things like that. And if they find anything worth having, it goes to the crown. So Charlie Boy and the crown, they get richer and richer all the time, don't they? And then the poor get poorer. But there you go. Sometimes you think nothing's changed, does it? You just give people the bare minimum, so they don't complain too much. You know, as long as people have got their tellies and their you know, couple of holidays a year, maybe to some sort of cheap holiday destination, you know, they'll never get to the riches of the elites. And in fact, now you're struggling to even get to university unless you come from an elite family, because you can't afford, your parents can't afford to pay for it. You've got to pay for it now. I was lucky when I went to university. You still were in a position where you could get a grant for, you didn't have to pay, first of all, to go and get your degree, and you could even get grants. You know, nowadays, how would you go to university if your family haven't got money? You can't. So you've been excluded again. In Britain, this is not in, I think in Scotland it might still be free, I'm not sure, but you know, it's like going back in time, isn't it? All the time, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. It's like stepping back 100 years. It's awful, isn't it? Anyway, that's how it feels to me. Oh, do you think he's allowing his natural silver hair to come through, Bluebell? Let's have a look at that picture again. Maybe. Well, I hope so. I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't look as blonde, does it? And he doesn't seem to have his tan on there. But he does look ill. But, you know, he is nearly 80. at the end of the day. So, and he has, as president, he has a very hectic schedule, I expect. So anyway, he didn't comment yesterday at this new release of items. You know, normally you can't shut Donald Trump up, can you? Once he gets, he was announcing something that, the possible reopening of the government. So he's very proud of that. And normally afterwards you can't shut him up, but he didn't answer any questions. So he's obviously trying to avoid everything. But anyway, let's have a look what this article by Sky News about it. Let's see. Yeah, so this is quite a good analysis, Sky News, I think.
That is the tip of the iceberg that we have got at the moment. What has happened this morning is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, so what we have to remember is there are lots more things to come out, lots more. And I just think, where are the photos? Why is it only this photo of Andrew that's circulating with Virginia and Ghislaine? You know, there'll be loads of other photos, loads. And videos, I'm 100% certain. So why don't they release them? And why don't they arrest the people that are involved?
Indeed. First of all, the House Oversight Committee over on the Hill released the 3 emails that you're referencing. And since then, they have dumped 20,000 or so documents online. And we're in here so that we can just give you a sense of how much. I mean, have a look at the screen behind me and you can see just how many documents there are. If I go to this document here and open this, you can see a huge number of documents. This is just one of a number of different files that have been released. If I go back.
Now, one thing you can be sure is, as we speak, journalists from all over the world probably, I wonder what they make of all this in China and places like that. All over the world, journalists will be scanning these 20,000 files and trying to find anything juicy, anything relevant that they can make a story out of, won't they? And a couple of the emails that have been sort of discussed so far, they mainly involve Trump, don't they? Because Epstein referred to him as the dog that hasn't barked yet. It's quite interesting, that. What a funny expression. So that in this email that Epstein sent to his friend, who's a famous author, by the way, and I'm going to get him up in a minute, he clearly knew what was going on because he was advising Epstein to use what he had against Donald Trump to his advantage. So why has he not been arrested? Why have these people not been arrested when he obviously clearly knows perfectly well the situation, because we know from the emails? And of course, the same as Mandelson. Why has he not been arrested? Why has Andrew not been arrested? You know, why? I don't understand. Now, I must say that Virginia Giuffre herself, in her own book, did say about Donald Trump that he had never done anything bad towards her. But Epstein, in one of his emails, says that Trump spent an hour with Virginia in his house. So, you know, where's the truth of all this? You know, where is the truth? Now, let me just find this guy, this author that supposedly is in these emails. Oh, he'll say his name in a minute, or has he already said it? And I'll look
the images section. You can see there are a huge number of different files. Some of these are emails. Some of them are publicly available articles that were sent to and fro between Epstein and his associates. Some of them appear to be images. There are a few videos here as well. As I say, we, and I imagine newsrooms right around the world are at the moment trawling through what is in here to see what is relevant, what is not. You can see the blacked out lines here are redacted bits. So of course there are people named in here who, for various reasons, the House Oversight Committee, who has got hold of the Epstein estate and is now releasing so much of it, they have decided to redact certain names, and among them will be Epstein's victims as well. So not only newsrooms, Mark, but I would think that in the White House as well, they are trawling through this to see what they can, what's in there, how damaging they think it might be for the president. But of course, as we know, Mark, with the Jeffrey Epstein story, there are so many tangents. There are so many people who have been associated with him. And of course, there may be details in here. We've seen one email from Peter Mandelson, former British ambassador here. Of course, his association with Epstein resulted in his downfall as ambassador. There is an email that we've seen. We're not going to publish it at the moment, but we're looking at it and others. It certainly suggests, again, a close relationship with between Mandelson and Epstein. Prince Andrew, of course, the man formerly known as Prince Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, he is referenced in here as well. And then, of course, the president himself, and a couple of emails, that the initial few that were released by the House Oversight Committee. We've got details of them. There is an email from Jeffrey Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell. He, of course, is now dead. She is in a prison in the United States. An email from April 2011, where he wrote to Maxwell. He said to her, "I want you to realize that the dog who hasn't barked is Trump. Victim spent," and then they've blanked out the name of the victim, "spent hours at my house with him."
Yeah, the dog who hasn't barked is Trump, and victim. Now, the name's been redacted, but it's universally accepted. That is Virginia that they're talking about. That he spent hours at his house. She spent hours at Epstein's house with him. But she never, in her book, to be fair, and we've got to show all sides of it, she never implicated Donald Trump.
He has never once been mentioned, police chief, etc. I'm 75% there. So that is an email from Epstein to Maxwell. There are other emails from the author and journalist Michael Wolff to Jeffrey Epstein. There's one from December 2015. The subject is "Heads Up," and it says, if he says he hasn't been on the plane or to the house, then that gives you a valuable PR and political currency. You can hang him in any way that potentially generates a positive benefit for you, or if it really looks like he could win, remember this is just before the 2016 election, he could save you generating a debt. So that is what appears to be advice that the author Michael Wolff.
Yeah, so the author Michael Wolff, why hasn't he been arrested? He sent an email to Jeffrey Epstein saying, heads up, and giving him advice about how to deal with Donald Trump, who was likely to become president and did become president. So why has he not been arrested? I'm going to look him up in a minute.
Who has been a contributor on Sky over the past few years.
He's been a contributor on Sky News and probably lots of other news programs. Let's have a look at him. So he obviously knew. So why is, my question is, as I say, why is Andrew getting all the heat? I say I'm not sticking up for Andrew. Andrew's a bad person. But he's not the only one. There's an article. Michael Wolff made a pile of cash from Trump books while advising Epstein. He played one billionaire off against another. He's the chronicler of Donald Trump's White House, producing 4 books filled with extraordinary tales of temper tantrums and dysfunction. Let's have a look at a photo of him. I'll just share this tab. Michael Wolff, American journalist. Who is Michael Wolff? Let's see. Who is Michael Wolff, the journalist who emailed with Jeffrey Epstein about Donald Trump? Yeah, why has he not been arrested? I just don't understand this. No one's been arrested. Even Andrew hasn't been arrested. Only Ghislaine Maxwell has been arrested.
Sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Deborah Roberts sat down with Wolff. Good morning, Deborah.
Good morning, George. Over the course of his career, Michael Wolff has sat down with some of the biggest names in politics, with media stars and business titans. And he says the one thing they all have in common, they've all paid a hefty price for fame.
Oh, yeah.
In his new book, Too Famous, Michael Wolff says an intoxicating thirst for that bright light of fame has sent powerful people spiraling.
Everybody always wants more, and more is what leads to too famous and to destruction.
Is fame necessarily corrosive?
Yeah, I think it is. It is often ruinous.
His list of too famous subjects, including Donald Trump, Rudy Giuliani, Hillary Clinton, and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
No, the thing is, I'm not saying that this Michael Wolff was on the island or did anything like that. I don't know, but he obviously knew about it because he was emailing this creep. God, when you look at this man, he'd have to have money, wouldn't he, to find women? I mean, he's just revolting, isn't he? He's revolting. If he didn't have money, nobody'd be interested in him. He just gives off that yucky vibe, doesn't he? Maybe it's just knowing what we know about him now, but to me it just looks like, it gives me the chills. He really, really does. Anyway, so yeah, maybe this Michael Wolff, maybe he wasn't one of the abusers, but he obviously knew about it because he's sending Epstein emails saying heads up and telling him how to manipulate Donald Trump. So why has he not been charged with anything? Even if it's just collusion or whatever, I don't know what sort of things you would charge someone for. Just why is Ghislaine Maxwell the only person who's actually in prison?
Epstein proposed that I write a book about him, and he gives me access to him on a frequent basis, access to what was going on in his house. So I kind of...
So you were a guest in his home?
Yes. I'm not sure anyone who I'm writing about quite makes the distinction about whether I am, a fly on the wall or a guest at the banquet.
Wolff claiming that in 2019 he was in the room and recorded this never-released audio as political operative Steve Bannon tried to media train Epstein for a potential television interview.
Money never interested me. Money never interested me, no. Money to me is only numbers. How many houses do you have? I don't know. You don't know how many.
Money never interested me. That's what rich people say, isn't it? Oh, money's not important. Yeah, it's not important when you've got shitloads of it. It's important when you don't even know how you're going to pay your electricity bill or feed your children. It's so to say money's not important or I don't think about money. It's just because he's filthy rich, isn't it? Maybe if he ever had a spell of a year or a couple of years where he didn't have any money and he had to worry about all those things. Well, he didn't even have any kids, thank God. But, maybe if he had a year where he had to think about how he was going to pay his bills, he had to go to work in a job that maybe he couldn't stand, but he had to go because that's the only way he's going to feed his children. That's the only way he's going to buy food. That's the only way he's going to pay the electricity, the water. And, just like surviving, really. Maybe you should have a year doing that and then say if money's just a number. Money isn't everything. It can't buy you everything, but it can bloody help with everything.
Bannon disputes your account in the recordings and even told the New York Times that he did no media training for Epstein, that the interviews were about a documentary.
Well, it's just not true. The entire discussion was about media training.
He says Epstein was matter-of-fact about the young women in his life, saying that some lied about their ages.
Did Jeffrey Epstein realize that people thought of him as a predator, as a bad
yes.
guy?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
He had a grasp of that.
Completely.
Wolf is no stranger to controversy himself and has faced criticism for not attributing to sources.
Do you consider yourself a journalist or a writer?
I consider myself a writer. I want to bring you into the experience. I want you to believe that you are in the room.
What makes them talk to you?
I have no idea.
Because
Are you
he's a
shocked
creep
that
as
sometimes
well.
they sit?
He gives me the creeps too. Look, they're all the same, aren't they? You know, they're all these, you know, men that wouldn't have, you know, women or other men wouldn't be interested in if they didn't have money, because they've got this creepy persona. Actually, I'm not talking about just how they look, because looks aren't everything, but they're giving off this creepy persona. But the money that they've got, he's chasing the money. Yeah, why did they talk to him? Well, they talked to him because he's one of them. He's one of them, and they knew he would give them a more positive slant maybe than somebody else would. You know, they're just horrible. When is the next person going to be arrested? You know, arrest someone, not just the woman. Ghislaine Maxwell, and she might be a piece of shit, but, you know, she's one woman. What about all these men that availed of these girls' services? What about the Prime Minister that choked Virginia Giuffre and laughed at her pain and suffering? What about them? You know, why has nobody, even Andrew hasn't been arrested. I mean, he's been held to account, but you know, the only reason that Andrew has been held to account in any way, shape or form is to save the royal family. That's the royal family trying to save their skin, and I think they're too late. Because even Willie, he went off to that Earthshot thing. He's having a nervous breakdown, I think, Prince William. I think he's just falling off the edge. Kate looks miserable all the time now. She's getting even stick about her cancer diagnosis, because was it just precancerous cells, which women go through a lot, and it's not, you know, she was off skiing. People are challenging people that you wouldn't expect. As I say, I've never been a monarchist, so you would expect that from me, not to say nice things about the royal family. But even people that maybe once, you know, were trying to support the royal family are saying maybe it is time for them to go. You know, you've got Shamilla. I mean, look at them. Charlie boy, Shamilla. There's nobody positive to look at in the royal family. You know, who would it? This Princess Anne is about the most hardworking person. She's the only one that I have any respect for whatsoever. But even she will have known about it all. She's only interested really in, you know, propping up the royal family. Even the Queen, you know, what did they know and covered up? The Queen gave Andrew the money to silence Virginia Giuffre. You know, she shouldn't have done that, should she? She should have said to him, no, sod off, you're on your own, you PDF. So, you know, she didn't. So even the Queen's getting criticism posthumously over it all. You know, just get it over with already. You know, why is it drip, 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 drip? Just go for it. Just do it. Clear, you know, you need a clearing. It's funny because if there ever is like what, you know, if the royal family does fall in the UK, it's funny, isn't it? Because it's not like a revolution like in France and in Russia, which weren't very nice, weren't very pleasant, because, you know, literally a lot of violence ensued, not only towards the royal family, but, you know, the Russian Revolution resulted in a virtual obliteration of generations of bourgeoisie, you know, like middle class people, because and so really, and I'm not joking when I say this, and I'm saying it seriously, most Russians today, they are descended from peasants, because after the Russian Revolution, there was such a culling of the middle classes, you know, not just the aristocracy, but, you know, it was a sin to be bourgeoisie, to be middle class. And, you know, in families, even their own children would be reporting them as middle class or bourgeoisie. I don't know how you say that in Russian. But that's what happened in France too. It was a crime to be middle class because, you know, it was after the revolution. So there weren't many left at the end of it. They were wiped out, literally generations of young people wiped out because they had some association with the middle class. Now, I wouldn't want that, you know, that's horrible. That violence is terrible, and I wouldn't want that. That's horrible. And of course, it was made worse then when Lenin died and Stalin took over, and he was, you know, the worst of the worst. People were terrified of him. Everyone was terrified of him. So we won't have that in Britain. If the monarchy falls in Britain, it'll be like this very British revolution, like just like quietly, one by one, like dominoes falling, but hopefully won't include violence and just, you know, going around killing people just because they got a posh accent or they went to a public school or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it was a seismic thing in Russia. And, you know, Russia, it's not that long ago. I mean, it was 1917, so it's 100 years ago, just over. It's not like hundreds and hundreds of years ago. So Russia is still sort of in that, isn't it? It's still recovering from being a communist state and from Stalinism, etc. You know, it's, you have to understand these cultures, don't you, and their difference. Now, in Britain, just what surprises me is the way that British people, some British people, just, and not only in Britain actually, because all over the world, just blindly accept, you know, that the royal family is somehow designated by God to rule or whatever. Just honestly, it's like, what? Maybe it's seen it from the outside now, I don't know, though I never felt like that, really, to be honest. And now you've got, you know, Charlie Boy and Shamila. Are we supposed to look up to them, are we? What is there about Charlie to look up to, and what is there about Shamila to look up to? You know, at least with the Queen, you felt like she had something about her. I think everything just, you know, Britain went to shit, didn't it? Hi, Deanna. Yes, he could. And, you know, Deanna, you're absolutely right. And Andrew, if he really wanted to be a good person and do the right thing now after all these years, he could help the police. Hi, Gary for Grace. He could help the police, couldn't he? You know, it's he could try and redeem himself. He won't.
I'm always shocked, always.
And despite the often brutal portrayals of his subjects, Wolf says the too famous often sought him out anyway to write about them, like Harvey Weinstein.
There's another one. You know, like, why would they seek this man out? Makes you wonder, doesn't it?
He said, come down to the show, the trial. It will be really good. You'll really like it.
He really called it a show.
Yeah.
Really like it.
We'll arrange good seats, the whole thing, as though this is a premiere. And I said, Harvey, I'm not going to write a book about you. And he said, you know, you think I'm a nice guy. But you know, I can turn into Michael Corleone like that. And then minutes later, I start getting texts from.
He's another one where his face just tells you everything about him, doesn't it? You know, people seem to think you can't tell from someone's face what sort of person they are. But this person, look, oh my God. Oh, God, revolting. Another revolting man. Just, you know, if you didn't have money, women wouldn't be interested in him at all, because not only he's not handsome, but you don't have to be handsome, but he's not a nice person either. There's nothing that a woman would find attractive about this man except his money. And not all women would find that. It wouldn't do anything for me. That's, you know, unfortunately for me, I've never been that interested in money. I wish I had been, but maybe I'd be a bit more financially better placed. But anyway, I'd rather not be. I'd rather not. God, imagine having to look at him. Oh, waking up in the morning, he's lying next to you. Ugh. Horrible man. Another one.
From Harvey, he didn't mean it. I'm so sorry. And he has no idea that this is unacceptable, crazy behavior.
Because he became too famous?
Exactly.
Michael Wolff.
Yeah, I think they get like omnipotent, don't they? You know, they get away with it so much that they sort of get this sense of nothing can touch me. I think that's it with Andrew, to be honest. I think Andrew, you know, he's 60 odd years old. So for 60 odd years, he's been a prince. And not only a prince, but the favourite son of the Queen. He's been indulged in everything he's done. He's been welcomed everywhere he's done. No one would have told him the truth. Everyone we saw, from that guy that used to be on his security detail, you know, what people said about him behind his back, because his nickname was the CUNT. But Andrew would never have known that. And Andrew probably would have been surprised to hear that. He probably thought everyone loved him because his mummy loved him, and he thought everybody would love him the same. And I think what's happened with Andrew, and then when the Queen died, of course, he lost his last bit of protection. And now they're saying, and again, you know, the thing is, there's a lot of speculation going around, that the Queen, one of the conditions of the royal family protecting Andrew was that Shamilla, as I call her, because I can't bear her, should be made queen rather than queen consort. Because, you know, Prince Charles, or when he was a prince, you know, all this long-standing affair that he had with Camilla, he always promised her that she would be queen one day. But she's always just wanted to be queen. She's like the wicked stepmother, isn't she? She wanted to be queen, and now she is queen. Well, do you know what? I hope she chokes on it, because I don't think it's going well for her. And I think that's her karma, because she's engineered herself to be queen by causing so much trouble. I think she's at the crux of all the problems with Harry and Meghan, and she's just a horrible person. And she's got her karma now, because she may be queen, but is she really enjoying it? She never looks like she's enjoying it. You know, I think most people, you know, or a lot of people, they're not going to think of her as queen. You know, I still, to this day, when they say, oh, well, the Queen was at such and such day, I think, who? And that is just absolute honesty. It's not because of, and then I have to think from it, I think, oh, they mean Shamilla.
And elsewhere, of course. He wrote to Epstein in December 2015. Now, as you can imagine, Mark, the White House has responded to those initial 3 emails that were released. And we have a statement from Caroline Levitt, the press secretary. She says the Democrats selectively leaked emails to the liberal media to create a fake narrative to smear President Trump. The unnamed victim referenced in these emails is the late Virginia Giuffre. The woman who was photographed, you'll remember, in that now infamous photo with Prince Andrew.
God, infamous. I mean, I think that was one of the most significant photos ever taken in the history of the world, isn't it? But, you know, because it's literally changing the British royal family. But that is, it, you know, gone on for centuries. The other thing I just want to say about Virginia, and, you know, we just almost must think, well, it's a shame that she is not here now to see all this happening, because she's brought it about, really. It was her bravery that's brought about this. You know, she was just a young girl, 17 years old, bless her. And now she's dead at 41. And let me know what you think. But do you think her death was self-inflicted, or do you think she was got rid of? Because I honestly am not sure. It's all. I mean, it may be that it was self-inflicted. She obviously had problems. But would she have done that just before her book was coming out and everything, and things were finally seemed to be coming to a head? She HUNG herself. I don't know whether, because I mean, maybe she did do it to herself, but no, in the end, there seems to be too many sort of coincidences, doesn't there? With Epstein doing that to himself, her supposedly doing it to herself. And of course, we've all really been sort of half expecting that one day they'll go to Ghislaine Maxwell's cell and she'll have done it. But of course, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to think. I don't like conspiracy theories in general. I'm not a believer in conspiracy theories, but it just seems strange to me that this girl would do this. This woman would do this just before her book was coming out and everything. So unfortunately, she hasn't lived to see. I hope she's looking down and laughing at Andrew, but she hasn't lived to see and to be, people would be interviewing her now, wouldn't she? She would be doing the rounds of the news things, talking about this, about what had happened, etc. And unfortunately, she's not, because supposedly she took her own life. I might do a poll actually, because I'd like to know your opinions. I'd like to know your opinions about whether. Let's do a poll. We're going to do a poll. So I'm going to do a poll. All right, how do I put it? Because I've got, what YouTube's like. They don't like you talking about the big S, I'm afraid. Okay. I know how to put it. So we'll have, was Virginia's death suspicious? And we'll have yes, no, and not sure, I think. What do you think? Yeah. Was Virginia's death suspicious? Yes, no, not sure. So, please, let's see, most yes so far. But anyway, so I'm going to leave that up for a little while. Don't forget to vote. Don't forget to vote. So, yeah, her husband was not nice to her either, was it? And that's why I did mention in a video not long ago, I won't be buying her book. And it's, why? Because the profits might be going to her ex-husband or her husband, because I don't think they were divorced. And, yeah, he was supposed to be a twonk as well. I mean, the thing is, for someone like Virginia, who was abused from an early age, it's difficult to break out of that cycle. She's a magnet for other abusers, unfortunately. So it could be that Virginia just had enough and decided to unalive herself. It's possible. But I don't know. It just seems with her book coming out and everything, wouldn't she have wanted to at least see how the book went? Or I don't know. Or would she have... wouldn't she have wanted to at least see how her book was received? Or maybe she felt that once she'd written that book, she'd given her contribution. I don't know. Yeah. So there's a lot of people. Hi, Julie. Don't forget to do the poll as to whether you think Virginia was unalived, sort of by somebody else, or whether she did it to herself. because I'm not sure at all. The more I look into this, the more you think, But you know what? I don't think thank you, darling. I don't think we will ever know. I think what's sad, especially sad, is there are some mysteries, aren't there, that we would just never know. Like, will we ever know the truth about, or Epstein's death as well? Did he do it see, with him, I can find it more likely that he did do it to himself, because for a man like that had lived all his life in freedom and doing what he wanted and all that money and what have you, that he couldn't face being in prison. I do understand that. Having said that, other people say, well, he was just about to have an appeal go, it wasn't 100% certain that he would end up staying in prison. Of course, if anyone had the money to pay for a defence, it was him. So he would get the best defence that money could buy. So, then there's that as well. But again, I just don't think we will ever know, unfortunately. Well, maybe we'll know one day when we pass over to the next world, and maybe we'll get all the answers then. I hope you do get all the answers then. But maybe will I still be doing true crime videos on the other side? I mean, who knows? Do you just go on to a different level, a different plane? And be good to find out the truth. But I think for what Epstein did in his life, at the end of the day, he was an abuser. He will be, even though he wasn't a murderer, or at least as far as we know, he wasn't a murderer. He's still going to hell, isn't he? He's definitely going to hell. All of these people are going to hell. Any people. There was another one as well, that Jean-Luc Brunel. Yeah, he's another one, wasn't he, that was involved in it, and he was found dead in his cell. Don't think I've got a photo of him up there. Let's have a look. Yeah, too many. You remember what was that? Like, once is an accident, twice is a coincidence, 3 times is a pattern. And we've got a pattern of suspicious deaths, haven't we? So this was the Epstein associate found dead in Paris. Let's have a look at him. Yeah. There he is on the jet, laughing and joking with Epstein and Ghislaine. See, Ghislaine was the woman in the middle of it all. So the ones that go to prison, except Ghislaine, they get bumped off, don't they? Or they mysteriously get found dead in their cells. Oh, what, these trousers? So a French modelling agent, a modelling agent, you think he'd know a little bit about fashion, wouldn't you? Look at the state of him. Good God. So he was found hanged in his cell in La Santé prison at 1 o'clock on Saturday. Not this Saturday, this was in 2022. 76 years old, had been held for over a year, being investigated on suspicion of the RAPE of minors and the trafficking of minors for sex exploitation. And Brunel had denied any wrongdoing. And his lawyer said he had been crushed by the allegations and blamed a media judicial system. So that's him back in the day. The thing is that we have to remember about these people as well, isn't it? We're looking at photos of them now where they're in their 50s, 60s, 70s, but they weren't always that age. They were young, when this was going on. Not as young as the girls who were abusing, of course, but they were young, 30s, 40s. So he was arrested as he was trying to get to Senegal, because yes, we all want to go to Senegal, don't we? So his arrest was part of a French inquiry into sex trafficking, sex assault allegations against Epstein, focusing on potential crimes committed against French victims and suspects who are French citizens. Now, the thing is, this is such a huge case because it's not just America, it's not just the UK, it's worldwide, isn't it? worldwide. Epstein was a collector. He collected politicians, actors, famous people like this, agents, the royal family. Andrew was one of his collection. He collected these men and then blackmailed them. So no wonder money wasn't important to him, because he blackmailed everybody else. So yeah, they suspected him of raping, assaulting and harassing multiple minors and adults. So this is 3 people now that have been hung, supposedly by their own hand. Virginia, Epstein, and this guy. You know, you just feel like you're waiting for Andrew, you know, the news, the headlines that Andrew has been found or something like, you know, this just, you always feel like something more dramatic is going to happen. Every day you feel like, what's the next dramatic thing that's going to happen? So yeah, allegations he ran a network using underage girls for sex, but a medical examiner ruled his death was suicide by hanging. So he was already a convicted sex offender, guilty to prostitution charges involving a minor. So he obviously liked minors. A frequent companion of Epstein. So anyone who was a frequent companion of Epstein knew. If they didn't participate in what Epstein was doing, they knew about it. Definitely. And Virginia Giuffre at the time is how sad, really. This just gave me a chill, actually, because of course she ended up doing exactly the same thing to herself, if you believe the official narrative. And she tweeted, "I'm disappointed I wasn't able to face him in a final trial to hold him accountable, but gratified I was able to testify in prison last year to keep him in prison." That was Virginia. Well, let's have a look at this. Sorry, just got to watch the advert. Where's the sound?
The lives of notorious sex offender Jeffrey Epstein and his chief enabler, Ghislaine Maxwell, have been the source of much speculation. Now, never-before-seen evidence released during her trial has shed new light on their private lifestyle. So who is Ghislaine Maxwell?
What the processes are
and what was her time with Epstein really like? Ghislaine Maxwell is the 9th and youngest child of the disgraced British media tycoon Robert Maxwell. Father and daughter are said to have been very close, and he even named his yacht after her. In 1991, he died under mysterious circumstances, found drowned next to that very same yacht. It was soon after that Maxwell left the UK for America, where she became involved with Jeffrey Epstein.
Ghislaine, she's sort of, that was her again when she was young. We have to remember these people were young ones, and her father was a tow rag as well. You know, her father, Robert Maxwell, he wasn't too clever, was he? So that was Ghislaine's life, really. She's always been sort of manipulated by these kind of men, but she's allowed herself to be manipulated probably because of money again.
New photos presented as evidence during the trial captured the intimacy between Maxwell and Epstein. The pair had a relationship in the 1990s and remained close afterward, with some describing her as Epstein's second-in-command and lady of the house. The undated photos show the warm, easy rapport between the two.
Yeah.
In one series of particularly suggestive pictures, Maxwell can be seen giving Epstein a foot massage on a private plane. The photos also reveal their lavish lifestyle, filled with private jets, yachts, and visits to exotic locales.
You know, it's funny, isn't it? Because Jeffrey Epstein, he was like Instagramming before there was Instagram. You know, it's like he's like the selfie taker before it was even fashionable to do that kind of thing. Of course, now everybody documents their life, or not everybody, but most people do, especially young people. But it wasn't so common in those days. But Epstein's got a photo for every occasion, hasn't he? That's why you just know there's more photos to come out. Oh, excuse me. There's more
The pair
photos
can
to
even
come
be
out.
seen relaxing at the Queen's private Scottish residence at Balmoral Castle. A well-connected socialite, Maxwell is said to have introduced Epstein to many of her wealthy and powerful friends. The couple was photographed widely at social events, including with some very notable faces, from President Bill Clinton to future President Donald Trump and the future First Lady, to across the Atlantic with Prince Andrew, the Duke of York, seen in one photograph with Maxwell and Virginia Roberts Giuffre, who has claimed the Duke abused her, allegations he has consistently denied. Prosecutors have also released photos of properties around the world where Maxwell and Epstein trafficked and abused teenage girls under the ruse of massages. From Epstein's house in the U.S. Virgin Islands to Maxwell's home in London, to Epstein's mansion in New York City and his estate in Palm Beach, Florida, where an image of Maxwell can be seen hanging on the bathroom wall. These days, the photos tell a very different story. In 2019, while awaiting his trial on federal sex trafficking charges, Epstein died in jail. His death ruled a suicide. And Maxwell went from the circles of London's elite to a New York City prison, convicted of enabling his crimes. The lives of notorious sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
I'm going to go back to the Sky News article now. I mean, the thing is, poor people, for rich people, poor people are a resource. They need them to serve them their coffees or, you know, their meals in restaurants or, you know, manned cruise ships and stuff, and provide them with sex on demand. That's what they use poor people for. And the thing is, sometimes you think if we had a fairer society where there wasn't such a great big imbalance between the rich and the poor, people wouldn't be exploited the same, because it wouldn't need to be. You know, women and men, of course, they get the young people, they get their heads turned by money, and because they're told, you know, that money is great and rich people are great and powerful people are great, they're betters, you know, and this, that and the other. I mean, look at recently with Hugh Edwards in the UK, you know, that young lad that he was sending him money for him to send him indecent photos. So money is power, isn't it? And they use people without money as a resource, you know, to get them to do things for them. It's horrible, actually, isn't it? The whole thing is horrible.
In London. And she reached an out-of-court settlement with Andrew. The Levitt statement goes on to say, Virginia Giuffre, who repeatedly said Prince Andrew was not involved in any repeatedly said President Trump was not involved with any wrongdoing whatsoever and couldn't have been friendlier to her in their limited interactions. It goes on to say the fact remains that President Trump kicked Jeffrey Epstein out of his club decades ago for being a creep to his female employees, including Giuffre. So from the White House, in response to those initial 3 releases, those 3 emails, 2 of which I read there, a robust response saying that the Democrats are simply trying to smear Donald Trump. They say that Donald Trump has been very open about his historic relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, that he ditched Jeffrey Epstein many, many years ago when he decided he was a wrong-un. We also do know that Epstein was once frequently at the Mar-a-Lago club. Virginia Giuffre, she worked at that club as well. But to sum up, Mark, in effect, the Epstein files, as they have become known, appear today to have been released. Maybe not all of them, but a huge number. And we and many others, I imagine, are trawling through them and trying to put some context and significance to them.
Yeah, and that is the point, really, because the background to all this was this increasing pressure, wasn't it? And also the White House administration, the Trump administration's reluctance, it seemed, to release the entire Epstein files.
Yes, because you'll remember during the campaign before President Trump won, one of the demands by his base of support across the country was to release the Epstein files, and he said he would. But once he took office, and we remember that senior administration officials, the Attorney General and others said that they had the Epstein files, they were on their desk. And yet then they changed their decision and decided that either there wasn't anything to release or that they weren't prepared to release them. There was nothing to see here. But now this bipartisan committee, the House Oversight Committee, has made the decision to release these huge number of documents.
So basically, that's where we are. I just want to look at one other video. You may have seen this, but it does the rounds on Twitter. So again, this is some party at Mar-a-Lago or whatever, and of course Trump was a lot younger then. They were all younger then. That's what we have to remember. They weren't old men then, they were sort of middle-aged men. Look at Epstein. He's a right little shrimp as well, isn't he? He's just, there's just something so creepy about that guy. But you know what? I think that Ghislaine, she totally adored him. To me, whenever I've seen the photos of them together, she looks at him like with adoration. I think she was totally in love with him. And I think he probably cared about her, but really, she was just a conduit, wasn't she, to high society, to royalty, to all the famous people she knew because she was so well connected as a socialite. That's what he saw in her. But I think she saw in him, she was like a replacement for her father, wasn't she? A not very nice man, but who had loads of money. So he's just like a Maxwell replacement. So you can see that Epstein and Trump, they were big friends. They were big friends. That's not just, Trump now is trying to distance himself from Epstein. He says he never met Andrew. There's loads of photos of him with Andrew. He's a liar. Apart from it, that's what you get for the president of the free world, a liar, a confirmed liar and sex offender. And a lot of people still can't see it. It's weird. Just weird. I'm just thinking, if you imagined Keir Starmer, all these things coming out about Keir Starmer or about Joe Biden or about any other, or Putin or whatever, imagine them just being able to talk it away. They'd be hung, drawn and quartered. Why does Trump get away with it? Look at him. Look at his eyebrows again. What's wrong with these people that are, how can you be a millionaire and have eyebrows like that? And his hair, for God's sake. It's like the emperor's new clothes. Do his aides really say to him, "Oh yeah, you look great, sir. Your eyebrows look fantastic"? Wouldn't his wife have noticed those eyebrows? If those eyebrows were coming towards me, I mean, they've got a life of their own. They look like they're going to crawl off his face. Look at him. Oh, what is it? These horrible men. Horrible men. Well, do you know what? I don't think they feel like they have to really make any attempts with their appearance because their money says it all. Now, don't forget that one of the times when supposedly Virginia Giuffre was abused by Andrew, allegedly, it was in an orgy, wasn't it? Was Epstein part of that? I mean, I think he's got some bisexual tendencies as well. He's probably one of those people when anything will do as long as he's in control. There's some people, they're obsessed with the power. It doesn't matter whether it's a man, a woman. Sometimes it doesn't matter if it's the age even, but with him, he liked the younger ones. But just when are these videos going to come out? There'll be video. Can you imagine the videos there'll be? I bet in every room on that island, he had cameras, and there'll be videos everywhere of all sorts of things. You know, are we ever going to, I mean, I'm not that I want to see the video particularly, I just want to know about it. Well, I don't know if there's any lip readers in the audience. There must, I mean, there's lots of people can read lips. I'd like to know what he was saying there. It'd be something crass, probably. You know, they're middle-aged men acting like 18-year-olds as well. Yeah. Watch that one more time. Well, proud liberal, you know, did you see the recent, what was the recent party that they had? It was like stepping back in time to some sort of Playboy Mansion type thing. They give it the Great Gatsby theme, and it was just, it was like pole dancers all walking around. I mean, this is, listen, what people want to do in privacy is up to them, but that is the president of the United States. Who was paying for that? Do you think Trump was paying for that great big party out of his own money? No, so the American taxpayer, the person, you know, these people that are struggling and that he says he's going to help, he put on that great big party with all these women walking around like it was some sort of strip club. This is the president of the United States. You imagine if Putin did that. That's just what I would say. So you think that if your video came out of Russia that Putin had put on a great big party like that with all these scantily dressed girls walking around, that people wouldn't be going mad, like it'd be all over the news in the Western world, wouldn't it? Oh, look what Putin did. And Trump, nobody seems to question what he does. Why? Well, they do, but they get shut down because, of course, Trump has shut down the press, hasn't he? What he calls like the left press, and he's coming for the BBC now, and this, that, and the other. You know, he makes sure what is happening in America. It's so sad, really. It's supposed to be a free country. It's not a free country. Not while Donald Trump's in charge of it. It certainly isn't. And yeah, how people, I think people are starting to see that a bit, because those people who voted for Trump, are they seeing any change now? Oh, and by the way, if you watch this video to the end, I will be finishing in about 10 minutes. I nearly forgot, I've got something that I want to show you, which is the perfect present for the man who has everything at Christmas. So, you know, if you're ladies, if you're out there and you're thinking what you're going to buy your husband for Christmas, because he's got everything already, or men, if you're thinking what to buy your male partner for Christmas, I've got the perfect present from Temu to show you at the end, just to lighten things up a bit. And I think Donald would probably quite like one. I'm going to get picked up on copyright for this song that was on there, but never mind. Anyway, so that's where we are. I mean, there's lots more things to come up, of course. Oh, let me just turn that off. There'll be lots more things to come out. You know, I expect the royal family, etc., like sat thinking, oh shit, what's going to come out next? But, you know, they need to look at what the other paedophiles that they've had contact with and been close to, Rolf Harris, Jimmy Savile, etc. Hugh Edwards. You know, Andrew's not the only one, and Epstein's not the only one. So we'll see. Yeah, I don't know if he'll give her a pardon, but, you know, that's weird, isn't it? Because even Joe Biden gave his son a pardon. That's not right, is it? Nepotism. Terrible. But, you know, we wouldn't get a pardon, would we? You know, if we were in prison, imagine, because even the Tiger King, have you ever seen that Tiger King documentary? Which is very interesting documentary. It's not a documentary, is it? Series on Netflix. It's a really good series. If you haven't seen it, the Tiger King. Well, he's in prison. He asked President Trump for a pardon. He didn't get one. You know, but Biden gave his son a pardon, didn't he? Now that to me is not right, because how can he then turn around, say Donald Trump did pardon Ghislaine Maxwell? It'd be difficult then, wouldn't it, for the Democrats to say, you shouldn't have done that, because they'd be like, well, you know, Biden pardoned his son. You know, it's just not right, is it? You can't be pardoning someone just because you know them or you've got vested interest in it. If you pardon someone, it's got to go for a process, surely. But yeah. Okay. Anyway, that's it. I'm finished. That's what I've got to say so far about the dog that hasn't barked yet, as Trump was described by Epstein, who, to me, Epstein is the ghost of Christmas past. I'm definitely going to mock up a photo of him dressed as the ghost of Christmas past, because he's haunting all these people. He's haunting the prince that doesn't swear, or the previous, of course, the Andrew who doesn't sweat now. He's not a prince, is he? He's haunting Charlie Boy, because he's bringing up all these previous. You know, Charlie Boy is not a nice person, basically himself. And Shamila, she's even worse. Even the Queen, we have to remember her connections. Her favourite painter. Yeah, and Louis Mountbatten, which I haven't got the photo of him on here anymore, who is a member of the royal family, who's a known PDF. And then, of course, Lord Mandelson. Get him out of the House of Lords. Well, for me, you can abolish the House of Lords. It's just ridiculous. It's just a way of rewarding. This was him in the day. This was him in the day when he was in love with Epstein, or it looked like that, didn't it, on their photos and that. But there's a few photos and videos of him around. So the guy who's, even though he's dead, and he's been dead for quite some time now, he's still haunting all of them, isn't he? He's still haunting them. Okay, so I'm going to show you this fantastic present. If you're wondering what to buy your husband for Christmas, ladies, and I'm sure if Melania's watching this, Melania, this would be the perfect present for Donald. So I just wanted to make you laugh at the end. So I wonder if Sarah Ferguson can buy it for Andrew. Shamila can buy it for Charlie. Melania can buy it for Donald. And of course, yeah, the Mandelsons. I mean, Peter Mandelson is married. I'm sure his husband could buy him one. I just thought it was hilarious on Temu. And it is, what is it? A realistic mole. It's a realistic. Oh dear, I think this is going to have to replace my button mushroom thing. You know, I would normally use this button mushroom theme when I'm trying to belittle sex offenders or whatever. But I think I'm going to have to start using this instead, because it just cracked me up when I saw it. Just, I hope it makes you smile, because if you know, we have to smile, don't we? Because if you didn't laugh, you'd cry most of the time in this mad world that we live in. So you can always rely on Temu to give you a laugh. But there you go. There's your perfect Christmas. It's only €6.12. Only €6. You know, cheap at half the price. Anyway, hope that gave you a little smile. Yeah, David. We were similar, but with a chihuahua. Yeah. Okay, I'm off. So don't forget to like and subscribe, please. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining in. Thank you for listening to me waffling on. I'll see you really soon in the next video. And until then, as always, look after you. May your God go with you.